half a mile, well, I don't know whether for sure whether it was a half a mile or not. And then a woods on one side. Well, after we went back there to that, they had a big circle and it was probably dug about that deep, which I was thinking they had torsos laying there, decapitated, the heads off, arms off, nothing but a body laid around that circle. And then they had a few guys laying along the railroad track that didn't make it. The ones, I guess they got some in there sometime or other. But the ones that was up in their huts was, well, their skin couldn't have been tighter over bones. And there was a lot of them dead. And they had the hut itself had a trench dug about wide and about that deep. And dirt out here and some straw thrown over the dirt. And they had a cannon sitting in the end of the, and I don't know, I suppose them buildings was probably 30 feet long, maybe a little longer, I just don't remember, but, and then they just built over it. But then poor guys are dead, and some of them that could live, well, there wasn't too many of them, but then. Yeah.
Did the guards flee before you got there?
No, they got him. They got but the main guy was there, they got him. And what we did to bury the ones that was there, we took a truck and went in and brought a bunch of, well, took a couple of them, brought a bunch of the civilians out of town that had no idea what was going out there. Well, they'd have killed that guy themselves after they saw what was out there.
Was this Landsberg 4?
Yeah.
Okay. How did the prisoners react to your unit arriving there? What did
well, they were just sitting there all in. Yeah, they were just, really happy and things that we were there to liberate them. But then, poor fellows, and I don't remember how they fed them or anything like that. I just remember seeing them, and then we went in and got a bunch of civilians to bury the ones there that was dead. And they dug the graves and just buried there because it was just a mess.
So that would have been late in the war, probably the last week or two of the war when you went through Landsberg. How did you stay in contact with your family back here in America?
Well,
write letters?
Yeah, letters.
Were you a good letter writer, or did you?
No. I can remember, but then
your mom
they were all censored before they was.
Yeah.
We had to turn them in. They were all censored before we.
Right.
But then, we got our mail. I can't say, but what we didn't get our mail okay, and what we sent out. And my father-in-law at that particular time was had raised some rabbits, and I don't know whether you fellows remember they used to have a tin can with a lid, and then you poured sealing wax around them to seal them. Well, my father-in-law, my wife would cook up rabbit and put it in that can, and my father-in-law would solder that tin lid back onto that tin can, and she'd send that's the way I'd get some cooked rabbit.
Wow. And it stayed fresh because it was sealed.
Yeah. Now they were a tin can, I think they were quart, I believe they were a quart, and then they had just a little ring and then a little tin lid that fit in, and then you poured sealing wax, what was called sealing wax around it, and that's the way the home people preserved their canned stuff, a lot of it.
I see.
And then they had glass jars also that had the same setup. But then, like I say, a lot of it after the war was over, that was when we was in this one house, and Lieutenant Fink come around, and we told him if he would find us some bread, why, we'd invite him in to eat supper with us.
What were your duties in the occupation of Germany? What they have you guys doing?
Oh, every now and then they'd go on a raid, and we would just go from house to house to see what we could find and things. And
War criminals,
Yeah.
arms.
but we in my group we've had no problems. But then let's see, that was before the war was over. It was just about the end. We was in one place, and we was staying in a room. And that particular lady knitted each one of us a moccasin that they wrote. We was there, I think, about a week, just kind of a rest, and that was just, I think that was when we come out of cleaning out the Colmore pocket. But anyway, she knitted each one of us guys who was in that house a pair of them there, I called little inserts that they'd slide in their wooden shoes. I got them in there someplace in a drawer now.
Wow.
But then we were extra good to her too, you know, but then that was
What? So you came home in February of 1946.
yeah.
Tell us about your homecoming.
Well, I'm just, like I say, my wife had, while I was in Fort Knox at school, that's when I got married. I would get home each weekend. And I got married then when I was coming home. And then she had a place rented and furnished and everything when I got home. And gosh, I broke down and cried.
Oh,
Because like I say, something different.
yeah. Did you have a hard time adjusting?
Oh, yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I know my brother and I, we got out was afterwards. And my dad lived he lived west of Verona, which you probably know the area. But anyway, they had a low spot and a creek run through there. And my dad was up on the hill up, I suppose a quarter of a mile from it. And I know my brother and I, somebody had one of their zip guns and shot it off down there. We both went under the table. We hadn't been in, that was one thing that I got, but then shortly after I was home, I had a job to work and I kind of helped, but yeah, it stuck with you for a while.
Now, you married your wife during the war. How many kids did you end up having?
We ended up I had three.
3 kids. And what'd you do for a living primarily after the war?
When I first came home, I worked at a feed mill, ground feed, hauled grain, and fertilizer for farmers, and shoveled coal.
Have you been involved in any 12th Armored Division reunions or?
No, I was a member of them, but then I got my life membership in it, but then no, I never did. And I thought I ought to go when they was in Cincinnati, but I didn't. I should have.
In contact with any buddies?
I had a Jaros, what was his? Edmund Jaros. I think he lived in New York. Here, I don't know how I happened to get his name, but then I had a fellow just lived in Darkenham that was a carpenter. He was in the 92nd, but he was in, I forget whether it was A or B, through Harold Skink. You remember when he was a carpenter, lived out on 49? Maybe that was before your. It's just been it's probably been about 4 years ago now that he passed away. But then knew him.
If you had to pick one moment from your military service that comes back to you, one moment, what would that be?
Oh gosh.
We're taking a lot of moments.
Yeah. I don't know, I always said I wouldn't take a whole lot from my experience, but I wouldn't give a wooden nickel to do it over.
Yeah. How do you think it changed you or affected your life?
Well, I don't really know that either.
Did you
I
take?
know I respect everybody and well, I just.
Mm. If you could tell all the school kids in America about the war, one thing, what would you want them to remember about World War II?
Gosh. Oh, everything being tore up but I'll have to say this much, the Germans was an industrious bunch. We could have a town tore up and you go back a couple of days later and they had it cleaned out, the roads where you can get through. Some of the times, some of the places in France, they never done anything. But I don't really know what I would say.
Is there anything you'd like to add to this interview before we conclude it?
Well, I was thinking of something a while ago now I don't recall what I had on my mind at that particular time. I did get to see my brother.
Tell us about that.
He was, well, over on the Austrian border, he was with the 14th. Yeah, he was with the 14th. I don't really remember now.
14th Armored Division?
Yeah, I worked for a fellow that was in the 13th. I think he was in the 13th. My brother was in the 14th of the room.
Yeah.
But then I heard that where he was at, and I said something to my platoon commander and Lieutenant Fig, and he come one Sunday morning. I was still in bed, and he come and shook me, and he said, if you go to see your brother, can you be back by midnight? I said, turn me loose. But then I got over and got to see him and come back, and he was one of the first outfits that was to be sent to Japan. Well, he got back to the States, and that's all the further he had to go, and I was left for 6 months.
Wow. So he...
But then I did get to see my brother when I was over there on the Austrian border.
Got the exchange experiences. Anything else you want to add?
Right now, I don't think of anything. Probably after you go, there'll be things that pop in my mind.
Well, this concludes the interview of Howard Ely, D Troop, 92nd Armored Reconnaissance Squadron, Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron, Mechanized 12th Armored Division, 1942-1945. And we thank you for your service to the nation.
Well, you're more than welcome. Like I say, I wouldn't take a lot from my experience, but I wouldn't want to do it again.
Very good. Thank you.